Welcome. Thank you everyone for being here this evening. This is our fourth Standing Our Ground meeting. We started these during the pandemic and here we still are. So this is a yearly meeting that happens every January. It's a chance for group leaders and for particularly active members to get together and to take a look at the year ahead, to reflect and to figure out where we're going from here. And it's also a chance to celebrate our successes from the past year. And there were a lot of them last year, so thank you all for that. Here, of course, we are on Parliament Hill celebrating the carbon rebate. So here's our agenda for the evening. We'll begin with land acknowledgement, and then we will do a very quick icebreaker activity. We will then move on to affirming and celebrating our niche. This will be a chance to remember what it is that we do and what makes us special as an organization. And then because there are, it looks like a non-zero number of elections coming up this year, we will take a moment to look at what CCLers do during elections and also a little bit of what we don't do, but mostly what we do. And then we'll talk a bit about the road ahead and our social media strategy. We'll talk about harnessing the power of CCL community, and then we will answer two key questions. So first, we respectfully acknowledge that the work that we support spans the traditional territories of many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples across Turtle Island. If you are comfortable, please share your own land acknowledgement in the chat. Canadians can learn more about territory acknowledgements and the land that they reside on by visiting Native Land, the website. In the spirit of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, we share that we are learning on our personal reconciliation journeys. Kathy strongly encourages everyone to watch the Academy Award nominated documentary Sugarcane. And she also mentioned don't Google it first, just watch it. So give yourself the full experience. And thank you to everyone who's adding your land acknowledgements in the chat, because of course we're all joining from many different regions. And so our three main objectives today, we want to understand CCL Canada's niche in Canada's climate movement. We want to understand what CCLers do and do not do during elections. And we want to plan together key things we need to do this year. And now I think I started the call off without introducing myself, so my apologies for that. But my name is Mary Blake. I'm one of the deputy project managers with CCL Canada, and also here is Mark Taylor, who's also a deputy project manager with CCL Canada, and Kathy Orlando, of course, our national director. So now I will pass it off to Kathy.
So Mary Blake and I are going to do a mirror activity to show you what you're going to do. And then we're going to place you into breakout rooms. And the person whose first name is closest to A will lead. And without talking, you're going to move your hands and the other person will mirror those movements. And then afterwards, we're going to regroup and reflect on that experience. So we'll reflect for a minute or two, 2 or 3 sentences. Just share what it was like, thoughts that came to your mind, how you felt, anything goes. Go for it.
It was nice. I didn't have to do anything, just follow.
I wanted to be a follower, but I was a leader. And I'm like, oh no, I got to think of all these different hand gestures. And I was like doing the Karate Kid wax on, wax off, and just trying to think of different ideas to do.
I was a follower and I was all worried about rights and lefts, and maybe that doesn't matter, but it preoccupied me.
I thought it was it felt remarkably like actually interacting with someone at a Zoom meeting. It was very pleasant.
I found, because I'm sitting in Saskatoon where it's amazingly balmy, -4, but still huge amount of snow, and looking at Kathy in Richmond where it's all green and lush, and I just couldn't, and that made it hard for me to think of gestures other than just completely.
I found
Also,
it
there's some
liberating.
latency
Sorry,
on
go
my
on.
video.
All right, any,
For
there's,
context, this is the background. It's the Rose Garden at UBC.
beautiful. Any other shares?
It felt really cool to just be in sync.
Wonderful. Well, what I noticed when you all came back, you were all smiling.
It was fun.
Good. All right. Mary Blake, that was great. Let's keep going. And I hope that just helped you reset something inside of you, and we can keep going forward. And that's a whole, and also help us feel more connected. Thank you for that. So our niche in the environmental movement is to train and support volunteers organized by ridings to lobby their parliamentarians and build political will for improvements specifically for the Greenhouse Gas Pollution Pricing Act, and generally for policy persistence for policies enacted that redirect money away from fossil fuels. And we have been meeting monthly and providing our volunteers with actions since September 2010. So yes, we lobby for carbon pricing with rebates. And then we also are asking the government to study border carbon adjustment mechanisms, looking at climate aligned finances. We also want regulation within the fossil fuel advertising. And because there are giant holes within the Greenhouse Gas Pollution Pricing Act, we lobbied for stringent clean electricity regulations and a cap on emissions. So congratulations on all your work, and wait till you see what you did last year. So our goal last year was to improve on the number of action reports that we entered, and you all last year gave us excellent advice to help mobilize people and also to increase the number of action reports. And we almost doubled the total number of action reports entered in 2024 compared to 2023. And we are now up to pre-pandemic levels of actions because we really, like most volunteer groups, took a major nosedive during the COVID pandemic. So we had 80 lobbying in 2023. We're up to 112 lobbying in 2024. We tripled our media. Our contact with legislators does not include digital campaigns. Those are literally, I'm emailing my MP or I'm emailing a senator. These are personal contacts, and you almost doubled them in 2024 compared to 2023. Outreach was up to almost double. Our other legislator event encounter is like town halls, and various other ways in which we bump into and our own parliamentarians. Like you see them in the grocery store and you talk to them. That's an encounter. It's not lobbying. Prior to 2021, we didn't count those separately, but now we do. So, and you did a lot of that last year. We did grass tops outreach, that is reaching out to think tanks and stuff like that, a lot more so in 2024 compared to 2023. You were more active in developing your chapters and yourselves, and the generic, I do believe most of that is Reddit, so we've got a little bit of a Reddit campaign going. So congratulations, everybody. Pat yourself on the back. That was a fantastic year. Yes, good job, and awesome job. So we'll go a little bit deeper. Oh wait, Mary Blake, can you click on just that? It's going to send you to a page. It should be active. There we go. So Mary Blake is in charge of writing our reports. So, and you can go to our website, it's currently on there, or you can see reports on our website. Like we have a section called reports. And even though we had a very, it was a difficult year last year, our social fabric was fragmented as we dealt with the lingering impacts of the COVID pandemic. We saw an affordability crisis, millions struggling to make ends meet. And obviously we're dealing with foreign interference and aggressive misinformation campaigns, capitalizing on our vulnerability to blame for most of our difficulties on the carbon tax. But you kept going, and we were undaunted, and we almost doubled our metrics. I went through a few of those. We had many firsts, including first and second media scrums ever in a parliament building, first and second time presenting to parliamentary committees, first time lobbying at the Ledge in Winnipeg, and first time partnering with other groups at national conferences. So thank you, everyone. That was just a tremendous year last year, and there's much more in the year-end report, which is available on our website, and which our funder loved. So thank you. We have somebody who's helping fund Mary Blake and Mark. So his funding shines through here. Great. Okay, so next slide. So we are members of the Climate Action Network Canada and have been since 2011. And I go to almost every meeting, including their AGMs and their major training sessions. And in October, I went to a training session in Montreal, or it may have been, yeah, I think it was October, but anyways, in the fall. And we did a lot of training on social justice environmental groups and what their best practices were. And we ticked off all the best practices. The best practices for the types of groups that we belong to is to have a decentralized leadership. That means we train and support leaders all across the country. And that's a huge box. We have a whole of civil society approach. We have our 5 levers of political will. We're constantly, engaging with other groups. We have unified bold demands. We are constantly trying to get money away from fossil fuels and reminding people that they're being lied to as well. And so we've got these bold demands. We at the core of our success is that we build relationships. And that's huge box that we tick off. And we celebrate every victory, and we are engaging continuously month after month, every single month since September 2010. You've been given action sheets and laser talks, and yes, you can take a break from them, but you can always come back because you always know every single month we're engaging. And we choose to just keep progressing and going forward. We don't let perfection be the enemy of the good. We've been really good at just, staying focused on action. And it's made this so enjoyable for myself. And I know for you, it's been amazing. And all of you have so many talents to share. And you fill those roles in your own areas so amazingly. And yes, we plan strategically. So yeah, we are following best practices. So thank you for that. Next slide, please. And just as a reminder, we are organized. And I like to show this slide every year because it just, when we first started, we first were a lot more like Occupy, and it was very chaotic, and it was hard to get a lot of productivity through. But once we started, had a critical mass of institutional wisdom and people who knew what we were about, it really made the work that we do increase and made it more manageable and so much more enjoyable. So thank you, everyone. The goal is that you give maybe 10 hours a month, most months of the year, as group leaders. And the rule is savoring must come first. And we do this because we can do this because we are very organized. And it's been just awesome having 2 part-time staff. So thank you, Mary Blake and Mark, for all that you're doing. Next slide, please. So last year, we went through this entire slide, and then we started adding things as the year went on. And it's a very busy slide, but it just shows you all the things, all the moving parts and the landscape upon which we're working, And we achieved most of that stuff in 2024. Next slide, please. And then something happened. A few things happened. Trump got elected, and it's now pretty obvious that Trump and Elon Musk are interfering with democracies around the world. And CCL restructured, which means I was let go from internet, keeping much of the support that they have for us, which is really lovely, like the database. So that was a good thing. Trudeau resigning, we kind of could tell that was coming, but the way it came about was, I don't know, something's rotten in Denmark is what I want to say. And I really think it has a lot to do with a lot of disinformation. And then now we have an Ontario snap election. So we've got all these things going. For those of you that are new looking at this going, wow, that's a lot. Don't worry about it. Once you're in this soap opera that we're in, after about 6 months, you know pretty much what's going on. So, okay, I'm handing this over to Mark now.
Thanks, Kathy. Yeah, so obviously with the sort of looming federal election coming up, we are going to be dealing with something that CCL doesn't deal with every year. It's not something that maybe all of us have experienced as a member of CCL, and we wanted to use this call as a sort of opportunity to highlight some of the ways that CCL functions during an election, some of these sort of nonpartisan avenues we take during this time of year. But before we wanted to get into that, I wanted to sort of open the floor and to some members who've been here quite a while. They've been with the CCL organization through past elections, and we wanted to use this as an opportunity to share some of the experiences that you remember partaking in past elections. Either you feel free to share CCL actions that you remember doing, or non-related CCL actions as well. And we'll just use this slide as sort of a little note section where we can track all of those, and we'll share all of this with everybody afterwards. So feel free to either share in the chat, or if you want to unmute yourself and share an experience that you remember, or an action you remember taking, we can add that on here. Okay, James is saying in the chat, in the past, CCL Montreal shared pamphlets comparing climate policies. They targeted people getting into the metro since they are going to sit down and do nothing for a few minutes and are able to open and read it. And they probably pay less in carbon tax. Amazing. Yeah, let me add that here. Interesting. It doesn't seem to be updating on your slide there, Mary Blake, but we can keep track and then update that afterwards as well if need be. So, okay, Doug is saying we've written LTEs addressing party climate plans. Absolutely. We have some more shared in the chat here too. So carbon rebate stickers pasted everywhere. That was shared by Kathy in the chat there. Let's see, Laura was saying during elections, we've done phone calling, flyer distribution, GOTV work, counting and distributing flyers, distribution at subway stations. These are all amazing. I'm going to separate these out into separate ones here, maybe after the call before we send this out to everybody. These are all amazing, everybody. Cheryl saying attending candidate meetings, asking questions about climate policies. That's amazing. Vince is saying blogs for narrative reframing. Kathy has shared we did commercials in 2015. Oh yes, and yeah, GOTV, get out the vote work, Laura is saying there. Amazing. Yeah. So as you can see, we've done a lot of different activities during elections, a lot of different opportunities to uh, help with climate. And we can, I think, if everybody shared, maybe, oh, we have one more here by Mary Blake. We've hosted
I just remembered we
debates
collaborated with Greenpack. Cheers.
with Green back. Absolutely. Amazing. Well, amazing. Awesome. Well, with everybody shared there, Mary, maybe we can move to the next slide and go through some of the sort of specifics of how CCL functions. So, CCL, obviously, we have a lot of values, as everybody here knows. One of those being that we are nonpartisan. So we, during election period, like to distinguish between the actions you take with your CCL hat, which is the nonpartisan hat, and then, of course, we still encourage everybody to wear their partisan hat and take actions that they see fit in a partisan stance, but separately from your CCL hat. So the dues that you take during an election as a CCL member would be you can do anything belonging to, take part in a political party, help with political campaigns. You can run for office if you'd like, through any party that you feel, best addresses the climate. Those would all be done under your separate partisan hat, of course. And also, you can write letters to the editor, social media posts, anything like that to help with the situation, help highlight climate as well. The main don't we have is that if you are, the face of the community, or if you've been building relationships with a parliamentarian, just to be careful not to burn those bridges in the other work that you do as well. So yeah, just making sure to keep those relationships because they're so important to making sure we can reach across the aisle to all the political parties and make sure that we can make action happen there. And next slide, Mary Blake. So some specific instances of actions that we've taken, as some people have highlighted in the previous one, we offer a lot of communication, educational resources through our laser talks. We've outreach material. We've done climate action counts as one of those, as well as media releases and social media posts, as well as we offer training on how to communicate effectively. On the right-hand side, we have an example of one of the education materials we put out, which was how parties voted on certain environmental policies that came through. And of course, this is a nonpartisan one because we are not singling out any one party. We are highlighting simply how they voted on different policies, so that people can make their own conclusions from those facts. The other stuff we've done is through outreach with supporting mass mobilizations of voters and uh, others for that, as well as encouraging connection and empowering people to vote using best practices. And then, oh, might have lost the slideshow for a second there. And yeah, next slide, Mary Blake there. So specifically in February, we are going to be offering some of those communications sort of training opportunities as well, with our new from social media to local media calls here. So those are going to be Tuesdays, February 11th, 18th, and 25th. And each call is going to be focusing on a different kind of communication method. So the first one is building political will locally and on social media. The second one is going to focus on blue sky specifically. And then the third one is going to focus on spokesperson training. Those are going to show up in the action sheets, but I'll just share in the registration here in the chat as well, if anybody wants to sign up straight away. And then in the next slide there, we also have our Right to Ignite the Right to Ignite meeting rooms are also going on. So those we've been doing most Wednesdays. We started doing it Wednesday nights every Wednesday, and we're going to keep that going. So those rooms are an opportunity to write. We've been focusing mainly on writing LTEs, letters to the editor, but we also do training on media releases, op-eds, stuff like that, and basically anything people are interested in for print media. So it's a great opportunity to write with other people and get inspiration and get stuff out into traditional media to further our climate goals. So I'll share that in the chat as well. And Laura's saying, Mark, are these recorded and put on the website? I can't join on Tuesdays. Kathy, I think maybe you'll be able to answer that for
Yes.
the social media calls.
Yeah, those will be recorded and put on the website and also sent out to you.
Amazing. Awesome. Well, then in that case, I will hand it back to Abby here. I know we're going to have a section later on in the call where we're going to be going over like actual action teams and stuff that we can do. But if anybody had any questions about anything talked about there, maybe share it in the chat and we can include that in that final section as well.
Great work, Mark. Thanks for sharing that. Okay, so one of the things we do is we write media releases, and something really incredible happened on Friday. MP Charlie Angus is calling for action as oligarchs are undermining Canada's democratic balance. Can you click on that, please? Okay, so we're going to put out a media release, and it's probably going to be the most uncomfortable media release you're ever going to read in your life, but I think we need to face this monster head on. So these are the instructions on how to send out a media release. You copy the cover, you hit copy. So you click on file. Mary Blake, you want to show them just so they can see? Click on file and then make a copy, and bazinga. And then you've got your own copy. And then you can do your own edits to it and do whatever you want to it, because you can only view the one that we've given you. So, and you can look this over. You can adopt the cover letter and even the media release to reflect your situation, making it relevant to your community or area. And you can send via email, copy and paste the updated letter into an email. And so what you want to do is find a local paper and develop a relationship with them. And it shows you what some of the local papers are. And then you want to send that letter to them, and be sure to file your action reports, and it shows you how to do that there. So there's a cover letter, dear editor's name. So you get the actual editor's name, and you appreciate something they published lately. And then, you send this cover letter, and you can, and why only local papers? That's really good, Bob. That's a really good question. Could you stop sharing the screen for a second, please, Mary Blake? That's a really good question, Bob. So your role is to develop a political will locally. So you become that point. You are the interest to the newspaper. CCL, they could care less about us. Like, we're just some group in Sudbury, and they often think we're either in Toronto or Montreal or Ottawa. It's you are the story. You, the constituent sending that media release, is a story. That's why the local media might pick it up. That's a great question. Did that make sense? Okay. All right. So it's
Only
and
partly.
also, yeah, and also it's to develop a relationship with your local media, so you become that trusted person. As our local media, especially in the past 7 years, has, for those of you who do not live in the big cities, it is becoming a media desert out here, and they need the content, and they need trusted people that can give them information. So, okay, that's a great question. So, Andy, you should sort that out with your chapter. For those of you in bigger chapters, it's usually you have a media person that does all that. Okay, so make sure you've got to sort that out within your own chapter. Great question. And handling the national papers, Mary Blake, this one we're going to send out to all the national papers this week. Okay, so Mary Blake handles most of the national papers. Okay, and some of the papers where we know the editors. The chances of us getting published are about 0. But that's not the point. We're just giving them information. Like I can't tell you the number of times we sent media releases to the Sun Media, to the National Post, and ultimately they endorsed carbon fee and dividend, both of them. So, you know, and without ever barely publishing anything we sent them. So do not underscore the power of that constant hammering of good information. And so just pick that one paper and just keep building that relationship with them. But now we should read this media release because it's like nothing I've ever written before. And I think we have to be brave. So defending democracy, Charlie Angus's Legis charge against disinformation. The solution, thank you. The solution to the pressing crises we face, climate change, misinformation, and inequality, lies in protecting and strengthening democracy, and it's under attack by oligarchs who seemingly seek to dismantle it. MP Charlie Angus is leading the way, showing us how we can take action now. He's calling for Elections Canada to investigate Elon Musk for election interference. He did that on Friday. The climate crisis is worsening, and it's crucial that people are informed with accurate facts. MP Angus is rightly drawing attention to this problem, says me. But you could put your own name in there if you so choose. Rampant misinformation is jeopardizing our fundamental right to a livable planet. Social media moguls must be held accountable for the harm they cause, just as the Canadian press is held to account through direct feedback from the public and the Canadian Radio, Television, Telecommunications Commission. A healthy democracy requires a balance of the 5 estates: the executive, which is the prime minister and cabinet, the legislative, which is parliament, the judiciary, courts, an accountable press, and the people. Notably, countries with strong, well-funded, and independent public media are linked to healthier democracies. However, this balance is now deteriorating, with Musk playing a leading role. The decline of media outlets in Canada has accelerated over the past 2 decades, with 169 media outlets closing between 2008 and 2016, and many other reducing services. This trend continued in 2017 with the asset swap between Torstar and Postmedia, and worsened during the COVID-19 pandemic, as Postmedia closed 15 community newspaper and Saltwire Networks suspended weekly publications on the East Coast. And consider this, between November 2023 and October 2024, so-called grassroots campaigns, fossil fuel companies, and politicians spent over $1 million on meta platforms spreading emotionally charged misinformation about carbon pricing. Meta's recent retreat from fact-checking severs the last link to fact-based news in news deserts across the world and needs to be addressed as well. But at the forefront of this attack on democracies is Musk. He is the grandson of individuals who supported far-right ideologies and fled to South Africa, where they lived under apartheid, a system they admired. Musk's infamous hand gesture, enthusiastically repeated twice with grunts at the podium bearing the U.S. seal during an inauguration of a president, was praised by far-right figures worldwide. And I apologize if I'm triggering anybody right now. Nick Fuentes, the Hitler admirer who dined with Trump in 2022, described Musk's gesture as a straight-up Seg Heil, like loving Hitler energy, and according to reporter Rachel Gilmore, Nazi Telegram channels lit up in response to it. A 2024 NBC investigation reported that, Kathy, it's not you doing the triggering, thank you. Sorry, thank you so much, and I'm so sorry. Like, it's kind of, yes, they're deliberately trying to emotionally stoke us. So everybody, you know, thank you for bravely facing this. A 2024 NBC investigation reported that Musk's choices have allowed anti-Semitism and neo-Nazism to flourish on the platform, identifying hundreds of neo-Nazi accounts gaining influence under Musk's new policies. A recent study analyzing 32 million tweets from 8,200 parliamentarians across 26 countries found that radical right populists are significantly more likely to spread misinformation compared to other political groups. In the summer of 2024, Musk's Twitter changed algorithms to favor right-wing content after endorsing Trump in the lead up to the US election. In Canada, bots on Twitter artificially amplified conservative leader Pierre Poilievre's tour with fake accounts promoting his appearances in Northern Ontario. Musk's actions are not going unnoticed, from August 30th to October 8th, 2024, Brazil blocked Twitter due to non-compliance with legal orders resolved after fines, appointing a representative, and deactivating far-right accounts. The European Union is investigating Musk's Twitter for potentially amplifying far-right posts. Over 60 universities have exited Twitter, and in December, the European Federation of Journalists, representing nearly 300,000 journalists globally, left Twitter, citing its transformation under Musk into a machine of disinformation and propaganda. As well, some Reddit communities are banning tweets. If you haven't already, exit Twitter, or at least remove it from your phone to escape the rampant misinformation, polarization, and emotional manipulation. A great alternative is Blue Sky. It's algorithm-free, user-controlled, open source, and cannot be taken over by billionaires. You can also follow Charlie Angus's lead and write to Stephen Perot, Chief Electoral Officer, and demand an investigation into the algorithmic manipulation by Musk and far-right influencers, transparency during the next federal election, allowing observers to monitor interference, and protection of Canada's electoral integrity. We have the power to restore integrity of our information systems and make social media a tool for progress, not division. And that's what I did yesterday morning. Got up at 5 in the morning. I was so like, I just popped out of bed and just did my research and pulled that all together. Those are all hyperlinked. Everything I said is factual. So first, any comments on this, not how to do it, but on this particular media release? Because we've never done anything like this before. This is, but our solution to the climate crisis is democracy, and it's under attack. And I can't see that we can do anything else but this at this point.
How much freedom do we have to edit it ourselves?
If you wanted to make it all your own and turn it into an op-ed and just make it yours, go for it. Like, you don't even have to credit us. You can flip this and you can take this and make it all your own as well. If this tone is not right for you, or there's stuff you'd like to add, you don't even have to credit us. We want to make this open source as much as possible and get it out on as many wires as possible in the next couple of days. So the answer is, if you want to dramatically alter it and make it your own and not credit us, by all means, do it. Anything to get this information out. Especially, Bob, I know in Saskatchewan, things have to be said differently. Like how I write for things in Ontario might be different. So, and I respect that. And I trust you all to do what's right.
Okay.
Anyone else? That was a great question, by the way. I liked it. You can also send it to your MP. This will help them. This will give them information. And they can maybe pass it on to media people as well that they know. So, you know, because sometimes they know they can get this into channels. It doesn't matter if we're not credited. We're just open source to people who love democracy. Yes, you just activated your X account. Good for you, Cheryl. All right. Okay, there you go. So everything you need to know is there. And yeah, okay. So we're going to take a 5-minute break. Can you stop sharing for a second? And it's icebreaker or a break. And you can blame this all on Kathy Page. Where are you, Kathy? It's your fault I'm doing this. It's totally your fault.
What?
I'm going to do what I'm about. Because you said when you went to that scam thing on October 1st, like, we danced and we had so much fun.
We did.
We did. So I had this dance that I choreographed, a participatory dance that I choreographed about 8 years ago. I've always wanted to try it on people. So I did it last week and we had a blast. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to do it tonight. So you can take a break or you can get up and dance. So you got 5 minutes to do whatever you want. See you at the top of the hour, or you can dance. All right. So I recommend, if you're going to dance, that you just tilt your screen up a tiny bit. Stand up. Make sure you know. Oh, it's got to tilt it up more because I want to see your heads. All right. All right. Okay. So the dance comes from Santa Claus is Coming to Town, when Kris Kringle meets the Winter Warlock And the Winter Warlock doesn't think he can change. Do you remember that scene? The Winter Warlock, you know, he's an evil. He won't let anybody pass on that mountain. So, so Kris Kringle tells him something, and you're gonna have to. Oh, I hope you can hear it. If you can't hear it, tell me if you can't. I just gotta go. It's all cute. I just gotta go do it.
I really am a mean and despicable creature at heart, you know. It's so difficult to really change. Difficult? Why, look here. Changing from bad to good's as easy as.
Right, left, right, left.
In front of the other. And soon you'll be walking across the floor. One foot in front of the other. And soon you'll be
Jazz
walking
hands,
through the door.
and just cross that.
You
Cross.
will get where you're
Cross.
going. And soon you'll be walking
Yeah. Okay, get a glass of water. I'll see you in a minute. You know, that was fun. I'm sorry, I'm smiling again. So how many have never danced on a Zoom call before? How many of you have danced on a Zoom call? I have, because like you have, okay, good. How many have never danced on a Zoom call before? Okay, how did it feel? Never. Hey, Kath, what'd you think? Did it fulfill? Like, did it bring back the vibe?
Oh yeah, that was pretty good. That was fun.
Okay, cool. All right, so I realized I forgot to ask you all a question. I forgot to ask you, when we were celebrating all the things that we did nationally, I forgot to ask to give you the opportunity to share. And thanks, James, for reminding me a few of the firsts you did in Montreal. So let's take a 5 minutes to celebrate all sorts of stuff we did locally, like first you did locally or the favorite thing you did locally this year. So James, you're going to start because you got the chat going.
Cool. Yeah, I kind of had to do a humble brag in the chat, and of course not all me, like the whole group. We had a lot of firsts this last year. First shout out on the floor of the House of Commons from Anna Ganey when she presented our petition on CAFA. No sooner had we done that, but it was kind of time to pivot again. We thought we had asked the federal government enough, and we really doubled down on our provincial advocacy efforts. Had our first opinion piece in the Montreal Gazette, and there was another first that I forgot. Oh, info session. So a lot of our members were telling us over the summer that they felt that a lot of the stuff was very different in Quebec from Canada and the kinds of policies we're advocating for. So we did our own orientation onboarding event in September, but we made it more than an orientation and onboarding event. It was actually like an outreach event, and got a whole bunch of new members who were curious about climate change, how to make an impact. So it was our first kind of orientation and outreach event. So super busy year for us.
Fantastic work. And yeah, Quebec has always been like the cap and trade province, and it doesn't always like fit in. It's like a square peg trying to go in a round hole. So thanks for making a square hole for them. Great work. Anybody else want to share some stuff they did? Yeah, go ahead, Roberta.
I'm a relatively new person here, and I was about a year ago that I went to one of the meetings, and Mark privately took me through how to write a letter to the editor, the things to look for, and so forth. And here in Toronto, we've got a really lovely, supportive, warm, encouraging group to help encourage these. And I went from having never written a letter to the editor to getting 7 of them published. One day in the summer, I got in the Globe and the Toronto Star the same day, 2 different things. So thank you for all the support and training, folks.
Keep it coming. Go
I
ahead.
have something, I guess. So I got my first letter published. There's the link. I got it published in The Hill. It was, I mean, in opposition to Pete Hegseth being the Secretary of Defense, because I don't know, I would just like to not be invaded or, see a military coup in 4 years when Trump doesn't want to leave power. So yeah, so there it is. So that felt nice.
Nice. That's the American The Hill?
Yes.
That's fantastic. And for those of you who don't know Vince, he's a veteran. Right? Is that how I would say? Is that the proper term? Yep. He's served in the armed forces. So thank you for doing that, Vince. Thanks for standing. That's awesome. Thanks for standing in the way. Anybody else?
Sure, I'll go. I've been, thanks to the encouragement of Lynn Adamson, who's not here right now, I've been focused on EV police cars. I spoke at the pre-budget consultation, and I just deputed to the budget subcommittee. Something I'm going to share with everybody, but I'll just give you a quick summary. I have hard data saying that each single EV police car will save over $11,000 per year per car in fuel. And if you have just 3 of them, you will reduce hospital emergency room visits for asthma by 3%. That's a peer-reviewed study. You'll also save over $1,000 per year per car. So EVs are low-hanging fruit, and the police love them. They just need to get into them. And they're throwing away money by not using them every time they go out in a fossil fuel car.
Excellent. And just like for new people, we are all encouraged to do the community level lobbying and advocacy as well. So because that builds your social capital as somebody in your local community, because that's where we're focused. So excellent work, Glenn. That's exactly what a CCLer does. Anybody else? Yes, Kathy.
Yes, I think that I feel like we've made really building good relationships, at least locally, with MLAs. I've been really working hard with Janet Eremenko, and even in our little community newsletter, she wrote, she often contributes a column. And this month it was saying that at her last town hall, people asked her why the NDP was not speaking up for climate. And she wrote her column on that as to the things that they support. And she said, maybe we don't support big C climate, but here are all the things that we're supporting, and, I'm with you. So I think, we're at least getting some traction there.
Wonderful. I love it. Anyone else? Yeah, go ahead, Andy.
CCL Calgary, Kathy, you just reminded me, but CCL Calgary met with a leadership candidate for the NDP provincial leadership. We met with Kathleen Ganley.
Oh, I wasn't able to attend that one, but good for, yeah, that's right. You guys did that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And we did our first tabling event in Calgary. I know other people do it all the time, but that was kind of a big deal for us at the Seniors for Climate in October.
Yeah, and I was going to say that too. That was the first time we did tabling, and I really enjoyed it. We got lots of signatures and met people, so that was great.
Didn't know that was both of your first. So congratulations on those firsts. So I think Cheryl's hand was up before Laura's, but Cheryl, go ahead, and then Laura.
Yeah, probably a first. Sorry, my own MPP, Mary Margaret McMahon. She is Liberal, but she also heads up she's developing the Liberal Party of Ontario's climate policy. And she invited me to be part of kind of a World Cafe style conversation to provide ideas on what would be important when you come. It was a nature summit, so that fed ideas for her. So it was the first time I was invited to one of those things.
Oh, that's great. Love it. Laura?
So I just had a blast doing I like deputations period anyway, but the last one was really fun because at the last second I saw a note from Lynn Adamson, who is inspiring with her first sentence, and her plea to those of us who hadn't yet done our deputations was to kind of take a different approach. So literally just before I went, I rewrote it completely, took props, and it was so much fun because it was less focused on the exact reasons why and more focused on let's just speak plainly. You got costs, you got benefits. And I put a few dollars, I had Monopoly money. Doug will know what that Monopoly money is from. I have Monopoly money in for the cost. And then for every benefit of climate action, I started putting money into the benefits. And the counselors were just howling. It was so much fun.
Oh, I love the
Thanks.
idea of props. It's great.
That's how you engage. Fabulous.
Amazing, Laura. Anyone else?
I have one more. Just this is something that would have never happened if I hadn't been a volunteer with CCL, is that I was invited to participate in the Otipimsawak Métis government. I did a full day workshop with them yesterday on climate adaptation.
Nice.
And there were 16 people invited, and it was this was just in Calgary. They've had them in other places, but a huge diverse community of people from all different walks of life that and I was, I guess, there because of my activist background, and that I've been attending their workshops and speak up. And so what we did is we were in small groups suggesting action items on things that the government should do. Like, what should they do for climate action for the Métis people, and tie it with, cultural values and things, but, like local action. And it was an amazing group of people. Like, I was very flattered to be invited to be with them. But and they also asked if I wanted to assist them with there's some workshop coming up on like simplifying climate language kind of things. And Ali says, I immediately thought of you. Would you like to come with us? And so, I would never ever done anything like that if it wouldn't have been from all the learnings from all of you people. So I think it's really cool.
Oh, that's fantastic. At the end, it's connect, 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 connect. That's how we make the changes. So great work, everyone. Oh, Donna, please.
For me, it was just a year first. I think my 1 year anniversary with CCL Canada is going to be like end of February. So just even, I feel like it's been such an amazing opportunity to plunge right in and get involved in every aspect of the organization, from writing letters to the editor, building relationship with like local publisher, getting op-eds published, heading down to Ottawa, getting to lobby, having our MP give us a shout out in the House of Commons. I'm just trying to think. There's been so many things that have happened, and I've been able to get involved in. Starting a new chapter in Milton, building relationship with members and encouraging them to get active again, and then coming out, and then to lobby CAFA, work on TV ads. I mean, it just kind of really blows my mind when I think about there's so many avenues to get involved with CCL Canada.
That was very enriching. Wow. We could do this all night, but we got 3 more things to get off our bucket list. So here we go. Can you share the slides, please? I'm sorry if I missed you. Did I miss? Are there any hands up I missed? Okay, we steam forward. Do you mind sharing screen? Okay, so I've been going to various seminars and asking experts about social media and stuff like that. Last I checked an hour ago, we are 6 people shy of having 5,000 followers on Blue Sky, with having started it less than a year ago, making it our absolutely our most populated social media site. It's the place to be. I'm not going to go on and on, but it is our key site now. In a moment, we were told millennials go on Reddit, so we should have a Reddit strategy. I don't have a clue on how to use it. So Mary Blake and Mark are going to be taking over a Reddit team. So Mary Blake and Mark, do you want to say anything about it, or we'll get to the national action teams, but Mary Blake and Mark are going to be. Do you want to add anything?
We're still figuring out the details of what exactly that'll look like, but oh, I'm clicking on things.
Okay.
More to come.
More to come. Okay, so just keep your ear to the ground. Mary Blake and Mark are going to be running a Reddit team at CCL Canada, and you'll see that in the action sheets, but put your ear to the ground. And yeah, so if you've ditched your Twitter and you don't have any sort of social media place that you know are going to, maybe Reddit's it. I don't know. So I asked some professionals in the climate comms, what should we do with our Meta channels? And they said you should kind of stay there, because even though Meta's doing a terrible job of fact checking, because somebody has to be there. And we also know that Facebook is a great way to reach Gen X and Boomer women, and especially through videos. So Mary Blake and Mark have been editing some of the videos that you made last year, and we're going to be making more videos this year. It seems to be a way to especially mobilize or make Gen X and Boomer women, get more engaged in climate. Yet we still need to be on Instagram, and that's a great place to reach out to millennials and Gen Z. And again, we've been putting videos in there as well. I am really confused about Threads, because you can post. We have a Threads account, and sometimes stuff gets shared like crazy. But we're doing it sparingly, more just to curate, and screw Twitter. And that's it. That's all I'm going to say about Twitter. Okay. All right. Next slide, please. So that's our social media strategy.
Oh,
But
Kathy,
yeah.
before you go on, I think Glenn had his hand up as
Oh,
well.
sorry, Glenn. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just wondering, what's our strategy? What works in terms of misinformation and lies?
Yeah. Okay. Let's go back up to that. Yeah. I think all of us, if you've got an MP who's a climate champion, or a neighboring MP who's a climate champion, you should be cheering them on social media and countering some of the lies. So maybe so just Glenn, there's no magic bullet, but just try to be the voice of reason out there. Stay factual. And if it becomes like emotionally draining, just like, I don't even keep social media on my phones anymore. It's absolutely emotionally triggering, and it's deliberate. These, like Facebook and especially Twitter. So just cheer them on, cheer on the parliamentarians doing good work. And if somebody's at one point, when Catherine McKenna was Minister of the Environment, every single day of my life, I went on there because I have multiple Twitter handles. One of them, like, I've got many aliases, I would go and report on all the people that were bullying her. So, but anyways, but most importantly, if you've got a local MP who's a climate champion, go cheer them on their social media. That's the big advice. Okay.
Do you ever get drowned out by negative?
Of course, especially on Twitter. It's like, it's done. Twitter's toast.
Yeah, I agree with Twitter. The other one's okay. The other one's okay.
You might have a little bit more luck on Facebook and Instagram, but Twitter, I still try on Twitter, but try to be the voice of reason. Okay. I mean, we're not scrapping our Twitter. So then I wanted to show you how many people here use their CCL community pages if you're a group leader for your groups. Anybody? James, what do you do on your CCL community? And Mark, what do you do on your CCL community?
I don't do a lot with it, but I keep our next meeting on the page. So it would be great. Like I find there's a lot of issues where people will sign up, they're slow to get, I think there's a manual process where they get added to the chapter. Sometimes then I'm slow to tell them about what we're doing. So I just try and keep it up to date with the place and time of the next meeting. So at least if someone signs up, they can right away kind of figure out how to get a bit more involved.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, and Mark?
Yeah, for the Calgary chapter, we use it as a place to post like congratulations for people getting letters published, to share news about our meetings or any like local actions that we have coming up, and to highlight some like national actions as well from like the action tracker.
Fantastic. And so Mary Blake is showing you right there what she does with her group. She just posts what's, various things that are coming up. In my group, I do the same thing. But I also email them, but it's actually a place to curate things and remind people of things that are coming up. So Mary
I
Blake?
also like to, when I send a mass email to a group, I usually like to then just copy it in the forums in communities so that it's just there and it'll stay there. So that, yeah, then if somebody didn't get the email or lost the email, it can be easily found here.
Yep, exactly. And it also gets pinged to them and then we send it and then it gets sent to their email box as well. So in my group subreddit, which you're not going to be able to see, I put upcoming meetings and stuff like that as well, in addition to the emails that I send them personally. Can you go back to the slides?
Yes.
Okay, and are you able to go to the Cantus Les Amis team? So is everybody in this group? Is everybody in here? Do you know if you're in there? Because we post in here and there's a couple of really good examples if you just scroll down. Like this here, like what Kathy Page posted here, simplifying climate messaging, that was perfect. That was an excellent example of how to use this place. So she said, hey, I just read this article and I'm like, nice work. It's in the Laser Talk Hopper. So it's an article about how to simplify climate environmental messaging. And so look for it in the upcoming Laser Talks. And if you can click back on forums, again, and then just scroll down and look like, right. Just keep going. I keep putting on Blue Sky, maybe go to the next one. But sometimes I've kept announcing over and over and over again, Canada's Changemaker calls, and you can cut and paste those and announce them to your group with personal messages. This is, you can just cut and paste that and put it in your own wall and then just keep doing that and just be in the habit of being in your CCL community. So in addition to tracking your actions, you can also just curate a little bit in your group, maybe set aside 10 minutes a week, twice a week, just to make sure that your CCL community group is being messaged as well. So any questions or other ideas? Can you please differentiate between what you would like us to put on Canada's site versus sent out CCL miscellaneous? You mean what to put on the Cantus Le Canadien et Mes Amis action team?
Yes.
Yeah, you know what? Anything you think that might get a discussion going, or you can like other people's posts, like anything you're dealing with, happy news, anything. I think anything goes. So yeah, you can yeah.
And where is that? Is that under
Are you in that
forums
group?
or
Are you able to click? Yeah.
forums?
Yeah, it's in the forums. It's Mary Blake, can you put that in the chat so that they can find it? And yeah, Doug.
Yeah, excuse my ignorance. I don't use this page and looks like maybe I could and should. So anything I post in there, does that go to all members or do I have to email it to them specifically?
It'll go to their email box as their CCL daily digest or weekly digest. So I wouldn't use it for something that there's an event tomorrow. But if you have an event in 3 weeks or an upcoming event or a standing committee, just once a week post in there, hey, a reminder, in 3 weeks is our monthly meeting. Hey, a reminder, I'm meetings in 2 weeks. So yeah, just you know, get in the habit of posting what's upcoming in your community, and then reminding people a few times that it's coming. Mary Blake, can you go to so look at the CCL, go to the third one down, on the third forum down. And that'll show you the behaviors I have for doing this. So this isn't happening for another, you know, 3 weeks, but I'm already starting to cut and paste, you know, announcements in here. And I'm going to keep doing that 3 or 4 times. So people will get that into their email box well ahead of time. And you can also actually make events as well. And we can do another workshop on that if you want, or you can figure it out yourself. There's actually how to do all this stuff. There's to-dos videos inside a CCL community, how to do all this stuff. The only thing you can't do now in your own group is email right now. So I'm trying to sort that out. You can't actually email your group from community anymore. So anyways, the bottom line here is use your forums to get discussion going and announce upcoming events well in advance. This is the 2 main things. Yes, Laura, and then Glenn. You're muted, darling.
I've just started using Zoom. So I put things in here that I would like to get a discussion going on. And people get pinged in their email. And if so, is it all of CCL Canada or like?
Yep. Let me show you what my feed looks like. Can you stop sharing for a minute? I'm gonna show you what mine looks like. So I get a daily digest. I've set my CCL community, give me a daily digest once a day, once a week. Yeah, once a day in the morning, first thing. So everybody, if you're in these groups, you'll get a daily digest. And this is my digest, right? So then I get it. Mine's pretty long because whatever. And then, you know, and then I can just read through them. So people will get them. I wouldn't make this my primary means of communicating with my entire team, but it is a way to keep reminding people. So you just, people can read their daily digests or not. And it's a nice way to keep track of, you know, what's coming up in your group too. You know, honestly, people need to be reminded 20 times at least to come to an event. Not you, just everybody else but you, okay? So this is
I'm sorry, follow-up question.
Yeah,
So
go for it.
when you said, so then people in your group would be reminded, et cetera. But
Yep.
this is a total Canada group, right? So it's not.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
not
The
my
Can
chapter.
CMAs and me is like, it's got about 5,900 people in there. Those are people that have chosen to stay in there. And then your own group, you have your own group, Laura, Toronto West. You should be able to go in there and leave stuff on that board as well.
But the problem is, which I'm guessing is probably an issue with all other chapters, is there's hundreds of names of people who nobody has any idea who they are. We've got a very small group of active people, and then there's hundreds. So if I put something onto the Canada one, or even onto the Toronto West one, it's going to a lot of people who really have no desire to see it.
Yeah, well, but maybe they do. Like, I'm surprised at, like, when I post things for CCL Sudbury, who shows up to our events. So you'd be surprised. You never know. Okay.
The community also lets people adjust their notification settings. So if somebody in that group didn't want to get the digest anymore, they can always opt out. So it's not like you'll be spamming people who have like no choice but to receive messages. They do have a way of opting out if they don't want.
Len, and then James.
This is going to sound like a dumb question, but why is it in French?
Oh, it's a long story. It used to be called the Great White North, and CCL did not like that because I guess it was triggering for some people because they didn't understand the Bob and Doug McKenzie reference. Right?
Okay, very clever.
They thought it was like, whatever. It was triggering, like racially triggering for some people CCL USA sell of us because they didn't understand what the Great White North meant to Canadians. So I said, fine, I'll give a French name and they'll never be able to criticize it because they won't know what the hell we're saying. There we go.
When I saw it, I thought, oh, that's for our French speaking.
Okay, there you go. Okay, James.
Yeah, I've even just on the messaging. So I use the messaging feature on the community, but for some emails, actually, I've found it works better to not use the messaging on the platform. Go in, download the roster, and send the message out that way. And Laura, to like your point, the people who are inactive on the list, when I took over the Montreal chapter, one of the first things I did was downloaded that list and did kind of like a mail merge thing to send an individual letter to everyone. And actually there were a few people who kind of put their hand up, got a little bit engaged, and I think there was something wrong with their maybe their digest settings or something, but they actually missed the emails from the community. So one of the other things I do, and it's easier for that stuff to go in social or promotions, or you see digest, people just sometimes don't open those emails as often they do a regular email from a regular person. So Laura, maybe you could try and go back and see who on the list might still be interested. And then what I also do in the chapter is the new members, I make sure they get a welcome from me outside of the platform using kind of a real email address, giving them a way to get engaged. And if they stay engaged, like our chapter tends to just have like an email thread, we're all replying all to each other, and people don't miss that because it's like it's going to go into your main inbox. Whereas sometimes people can miss the stuff on the community, but I don't push it with emailing people off the community, right? It's kind of like once maybe if you take over the chapter, you're reactivating the chapter and you want to see who on the list might be interested and just have the wrong digest settings might be a good time. The new people might be a good time. But then I'd assume, if someone hasn't nibbled or gotten engaged after that, maybe just, a twice a year digest with 2 or 3 things is enough for them. I wouldn't want to, kind of keep emailing them. So that's kind of what I've found works well in our chapter.
Yeah, email should always be your primary means. Well, actually, your phone calls and meetings are your primary means, and then the CCL community is a backup as well. So yeah, just give it about 10, 20 minutes a week. That's it. See how it works. I know it's working for me in Sudbury. Okay, share screen, please. We have 2 more things to do, and then we're done. Oh, and plus the picture. Okay, so now we're gonna go to, I'm gonna put you in breakout rooms. You did an amazing job last year on advising us how we could increase our number of action reports. We almost doubled. So I'm gonna randomly put you in breakout groups, assign one person to be like the note taker, and give everybody a chance to, come up with ideas. How can we grow the number of active chapters at CCL Canada? Anybody want to start? Just share 1 or 2 ideas from each group, and then if anything was missed, we can add to that to the list. Anyone want to start? Any ideas?
Bob wants to start a chapter in Saskatoon, so there you go. That's +1. Yay! Give it up for Bob.
Starting a chapter in Saskatoon. Yay!
And supporting him to do that.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and just to add to that, Vince said, like he was suggesting that we have kind of mentorship for maybe chapters that are struggling, or somebody that they can reach out to that can help them.
Okay.
That we didn't touch on in our here's one that we didn't touch on in our breakout room, but it comes to my mind now. There's a lot of anti-coal, well, there's a lot of provocation from the Alberta government now about reopening coal mining. And so I think a lot of people are ready to push back against this. People in the eastern slopes and communities like maybe Crow's Nest Pass. And maybe it'd be good to see what we could start there.
Tap into anti-coal sentiment in Alberta. Here in Northern Ontario, I've attracted a woman who is going to be opening a chapter up in French River. And she is so sick of the Freedom People. So it's the same idea, right? Tap into the anti-democratic, people, that as well.
Andy, I got to ask you, what's the feeling out in Alberta of Danielle Smith shutting down utility solar, the cheapest source of electricity in history? Are people just going, okay, I'll pay more?
No, there's been pushback against that too. We have no shortage of provocation from our provincial government here in Alberta.
Because shutting down utility solar is forcing people to pay more.
Yes. I put up panels on my roof and I'm afraid they're going to become illegal soon, and I'll only be able to use them at night.
I think personally you're okay. I noticed it was only utility scale, not community or residential.
Just wait.
Okay.
It's free electricity, free fuel, free delivery.
That's what they don't like it. But this is how the if you read what happened at the time when slavery was abolished, the deals with the devil that were made will give you a good idea of what deals with the devil are being made right now and how crazy people get.
Here, okay, guys, I got to tell you this. I was going to hold back. In Texas, they have an open market like Alberta used to have, and now they have negative wholesale electricity prices in the afternoon when air conditioners are going full tilt. Negative electricity prices. The ship has sailed.
Yes, it has. That's why they're behaving so crazy. Caitlin.
Oh, I'm unmuted. Our group, we talked a little bit about recruiting on social media, so sharing about what we're doing and see if other people want to join. This, I think we've kind of discussed this, but basically taking advantage of any climate contacts we have in neighboring communities, or attending events in neighboring municipalities just to share what CCL does and see if people are interested in joining.
Yep. So go do some cross-pollination.
And then the other one we have, I think, has been said, but support, if one individual expresses interest, really supporting them to become the core of that chapter.
Great. Okay, just go, Roberta.
Glenn pointed out that if you have somebody who is they're by themselves and they'd like a group, they're expressing interest, they'd like to have a group, that a strong group nearby could assist. You could have some, a couple of people that would talk with them, maybe go there, so they've got the experience and they can transfer that.
Yep. And yep.
We sort of had that with in the Alberta chapters, in that the Edmonton chapter is very, very small at the moment. So we've decided to combine our meetings together so that we can have a sort of broader sense of community in the Alberta area, and hopefully help build out the support in Edmonton as well that we have here in Calgary. So I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, like the regional coordination.
Bob, how many people in Saskatoon do you know of that are interested?
I think I know two, But I think Kathy knows a lot more. I think there are more on our list, right?
Oh, yeah. Got a fair number of people in Saskatchewan, a couple hundred.
Okay, well, there you go. And so it's a matter of recontacting them and getting them collected together and doing things. So it's an organizing job.
And finding people who can commit a certain amount of time.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, you're sounds like you're in pretty good shape.
Okay. Anybody else? And Laura and Caitlin, I'm assuming those are old hands? Old hands?
New
Okay.
hand.
New hands. Okay, go ahead.
One of the things that we talked about in our group was that it's much more fun if you has something social as well as the work. And it keeps people coming back. And I find that, so, you know, both James and Donna are finding that in their chapters, and I know that it certainly works in the full-scale Toronto chapter. It certainly keeps people coming out. So I think if we're making new contacts, say we're tabling somewhere, I think it's important to talk about not just what we do and why it's important, but that we get together X times a year or whatever, and we eat together, whatever it is. So emphasize the social aspect as well. It's not just come out and it's a bunch of work and then you go home.
Yeah.
And emphasize the fun community. And then I think there's more likely that somebody would jump in and say, hey, I don't want to be a part of that.
Absolutely. We're all seeking community, right? It's great.
I had another idea that we didn't discuss in group. I'm just thinking back to the days when I was in university. There were a ton of different clubs, and students like who are passionate about climate are also often looking for like experience. I don't know how we would kind of get our foot in the door, but I could just imagine if we had like universities or colleges that had like a CCL student chapter, I could just imagine that really growing CCL in general, because then when they return home to their own communities, if they're really passionate, perhaps they would also start a chapter in their community.
Yep, we've had that before. That would be great. I love it. Okay. We have 13 minutes to just do one more thing, so it might not be enough time because this might be an info bomb for everybody. So might let you ponder on it. What are the most important national action teams this year and how can you help? That's the question we want to answer, but a lot of you don't know what the national action teams are. So, and you don't have to help. Like if you just want to focus locally, that's great. So I think if you go to the next slide and click on the documents or just, yeah, you should be able to get there.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. And let's just get one more.
With jazz hands?
Oh yeah, jazz hands. Okay.
Jazz
3,
hands. Can we do jazz
2,
hands?
1.